Hello and welcome to another edition of Access to Democracy. Whether you're tuning us in on TV or you're listening to us on our new podcast, we're delighted to have you with us. I'm your host, Bill Raker. Before we meet today's guest, I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors, Recalibra Health, 45th Parallel Distillery, Sheridan and Dulas Law Firm, Truestone Financial Credit Union. We'll hear more from those later in the program. Today, our guest is Erin Parrish, who's the Senior Associate Director for Advocacy and Outreach with AARP Minnesota. Erin, welcome back to the program. I know you've been a guest here with us a few times in the past, but it's always a delight to have you come in and share with us what you know about what's going on in our communities.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be back.
Great. We're going to be talking with Erin about Social Security and voter engagement, two issues that AARP advocates for very strongly at the state level as well as at the national level. But before we get into those topics, Erin, share with our viewers a little bit of the history, the background of AARP, the mission of the organization, because I think that provides a really strong backdrop for the discussion we're going to have.
Sure. And for people who aren't familiar, AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, non-partisan organization that's dedicated to empowering people to choose how they want to live as they age. With a nationwide presence, we strengthen communities and advocate for policies that are most important to older adults, including health and financial security, as well as personal fulfillment. The organization was founded in 1958 by Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus, who was a retired educator and a retired principal. And she kept in touch with some of the teachers that she taught with, and went in to check on one of the teachers and visit with her and found that she was living in a chicken coop. And it was at that point that Dr. Andrus realized retired teachers need health security. They need financial security in retirement. So she worked to organize to ensure that retired teachers could have things like health and financial security. And eventually that turned into advocating for that for all retirees.
And in today's world, I think, is it anyone 18 or older is eligible for a membership?
Anyone can be a member.
Anyone can be a member.
We focus on adults 50 years and older, but what we do, Dr. Andrus said, what we do for one, we do for all. And the things that we advocate on and the work that we do in community impacts everyone. It impacts people 50 years and older, but it also impacts their families.
So that's a good understanding of why AARP is, among other organizations, interested in working for the benefits of Social Security to continue for those who have earned it. So Erin, we'll get to that topic, but what's your role with AARP Minnesota?
So my primary role, I work directly with our members and our wonderful team of volunteers to ensure that they have the tools and the skills and education that they need to be effective advocates on these policies. So I get to work with a great team who goes up to the state capitol to talk to their legislators. And I also go out and talk with community groups about the issues that are impacting older adults and help them connect with ways to get involved and make a difference. And then I also work with federal elected officials here in the state to ensure that they know about the policies that are important to older adults.
That's a great opportunity that you have to impact policy decisions and to advocate for policies that all people can benefit from, not just those who are retired or over 50. Speaking of that, what's the membership roles, excuse me, nationally and here in Minnesota that are members of AARP?
The membership roles in terms of?
People who are paid members of
Sure.
AARP.
Yeah, so AARP members, I think a lot of people join AARP because they're aware of the membership benefits. We have a number of benefits around travel, restaurant discounts, things like that. But AARP members are also, are activists who are contacting their members of Congress. So they get a lot of information from AARP, either via email or publications that AARP publishes that help them understand what is impacting their community, not just at the national level, but also the state and local level. And they're able to then, again, take that appropriate action and be informed on those issues.
So you mentioned that AARP is the largest nonprofit organization in the country. Let's put some numbers on that.
Sure.
In the state of Minnesota, how many members?
602,000 members.
602,000. And nationally?
38 million.
38 million. Well, congratulations on the size, growth,
Yes.
and activities that AARP is engaged in.
Yeah.
Let's get to the focus of what we wanted to talk to you about today, Erin. Social Security. Tell us what's at stake with the status of Social Security today, and what does the future look like? And then we can talk about maybe what we can do about it with voter engagement.
Sure. Well, Social Security, first of all, is the bedrock of retirement security for our country. Around 70 million Americans rely on it, including 1 in 5 in Minnesota. They rely on the payments that they earned while they were working. And many of them, it's the sole source of their retirement security. They don't have other things from private 401k plans, things like that coming through. So it really does cover basic needs like food, housing, healthcare. It's critical. The challenge is that in the next few years, the program will have 80% of the funding to make full benefit payments. And that's if Congress doesn't take action. So Congress needs to take action to close that gap and ensure that Social Security is strong for current and future generations.
So that's the issue, that Social Security, as it's structured and funded today, is projected to 2033, is it?
So folks will probably see 2 years out there. A lot of 2032 is talked about, as well as 2034. Both numbers are correct. The difference is that the 2032 number refers to the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund. That is primarily for retirees and survivor benefits. The 2034 number includes that, as well as the Disability Insurance Trust Fund. So that's the combined total for both of those programs. So AARP looks at the 2034 number because that is the total of the Social Security Trust Fund. But yes, 2034 is when the Social Security trustees have identified that the program will only it only has the funding to pay out 80%.
So you mentioned something that maybe we need to emphasize just a little bit more. Social Security is not, that benefit is not just as a retirement fund for people. There are other beneficiaries.
Yes.
Dependents or disability,
Survivors,
people who are disabled.
Yes.
So there's a wide variety of constituents, citizens, who benefit in different ways of the program, right?
Exactly. And I always tell people, Social Security is important in retirement, but none of us ever plan for a disability or to be a survivor. And so that program is there for us if that does happen.
We're going to take a short pause at this point in the program for a message from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Access to Democracy.
Access to Democracy is made possible thanks to the following organizations: Recalibre Health, a new nationwide telehealth platform designed to provide safe and effective health and wellness products at affordable prices; all administered under the direct supervision of expert physicians, nurse practitioners, and physician assistants. Visit recalibrhealth.com for more information. By Sheridan and Dulos, PA, a family and criminal defense law firm that has been serving clients in Dakota County and throughout Minnesota for over 40 years. Ranked a Tier 1 Best Law Firm by U.S. News & World Report every year since 2009. Sheridan and Dulos are here to help you in your most difficult life circumstances. Learn more at ssdpa.com. Established in 2007 and based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, 45th Parallel Distillery was among the first 50 micro-distilleries in the United States. All aspects of production occur at their facility. If you're interested in learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check their website and plan a visit to tour their facility and taste their spirits. That's 45thparalleldistillery.com. And by Truestone Financial. With locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, it's proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. You can learn more at truestone.org.
We're back with Access to Democracy, talking with our guest, Erin Parrish from AARP Minnesota. And we're talking about Social Security, how important it is, and why we need to be concerned about protecting it, preserving it, and making it available for future generations. And we're going to be talking about what voters can do, a voice they can have in helping do that. Erin, tell us about some of the efforts that can be taken by Congress that might help protect Social Security. You know, a misconception is that Social Security is going away, but that's not the case. So you can explain why it's not going away, but what we need to do about it.
So yes, a sort of misperception that we hear often is Social Security is going broke. It's not true. Social Security has never missed a payment in its entire history, and as long as workers are paying in, Social Security will be there. We already talked about the challenge that there's, today fewer workers paying in is one of the reasons why. But Social Security is not going broke. The program will be there. The good news is that Congress has several tools in their toolbox to use to ensure that Social Security is protected and strengthened for current retirees, but also future generations. And when it comes to those solutions, AARP has been very clear on this point. Americans earn their Social Security with every paycheck, and we oppose any cuts to that program, like privatization of the program, reducing the cost of living adjustments, or raising the retirement age. There are several other options on the table, but the conversation shouldn't start with cuts. Because again, people have earned that money. This is a promise that Congress has made. It's a promise to the American people. Americans have kept up their end of the bargain by paying into the system, and now it's time for Congress to keep up their end of the bargain by ensuring the program is there for future generations as well as current retirees.
So it is in the purview of Congress to take care of this. And because Congress, our representatives and our senators are elected by the voting citizens, who we elect to sit in the House and who we elect to sit in the seat, at some point in the future, we hope it's sooner, not later, will take up this issue and try to make decisions to resolve it. What's AARP doing, first of all, about getting the message to the current Congress about how important this issue is and what they should be working on?
Yeah. Well, I want to reiterate your point of this is why elections matter, because the people we elect now are the people who are going to be making decisions about this in the future. AARP is actively advocating at the federal level to protect and strengthen Social Security and ensure that there's no cuts to benefits. At the same time, we're mobilizing voters to make sure that the candidates understand how important this issue is to older Americans, but also current workers who are paying into Social Security and expect it to be there for them. So there's Several things that we really focus on when we're advocating, but also mobilizing voters. We are nonpartisan, so we don't endorse candidates, we don't donate to candidates or political campaigns, and we don't tell people who to vote for. Instead, we're very much focused on direct interactions with candidates to help them understand what's at stake and what the voices of older adults are saying about that issue.
So I've heard the expression AARP is about policy, not parties, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when people are thinking about what could I do,
Yeah.
one thing they could do is contact AARP.
Yeah.
I remind our viewers that we have during the program, scrolling across the bottom of the screen, contact information and websites where you can go to get information from AARP about the issues on Social Security and voter engagement. What are some of the messages that someone would see if they go to one of these websites?
Yeah, so there's a few things. They'll see a couple of asks that we would have of them. Stay informed, know what's happening with the issue. Ask the candidates where they stand. We have a couple of questions on the website that they can ask candidates about Social Security as well as some of our other priority issues, and then vote. that is so critical. The other thing that I'll mention is, people can sign a pledge to show that they are a Social Security voter and that is one of the key issues that they will be looking at when they're listening and talking to candidates. But when they go to the polls, that is one thing they will have in mind. And signing that pledge helps us demonstrate to candidates just how critical that program is for so many people in this country.
So those are some of the things they could access and
Yes.
participate in. Are you sending out messages to the existing membership about the issues and providing them an opportunity to send a message to their
Yes.
representative, their senator?
Yes. And if viewers go to aarp.org/minvotes, there's opportunities to sign up to ensure that they're getting more information so that they're up to date on what's happening with Social Security as well as other things that AARP is working on. And will also help them kind of see how they can take action, but also if there's local events happening in their community where they can come and get involved and be a little bit more informed and potentially interact with the candidates.
And it really is about being informed and being engaged, not just about the issue of Social Security, but about governance in general,
Yes.
right? Are there any other points that you would like to mention about the Social Security issue that AARP is focusing on, or that viewers should be aware of and be encouraged to be activated and engaged?
Yeah, I would just stress that there are conversations around cuts happening in Washington, and when families are already feeling the pressure of rising costs, whether it's groceries, housing, healthcare, Social Security is often what helps them make those ends meet. So it's so important that as these conversations are happening, that people lift up their voice and make sure that they're being heard on that issue.
Well, maybe it's worth mentioning that there's a fallacious viewpoint out there that Social Security benefits are contributing to the national debt. Can you clear that up for us?
Yes, that is not true. That is not true at all. Social Security is not tied to the national debt. It is a standalone program outside of the budget.
So there are no tax dollars, either at the state level or at the federal level, that goes into funding the Social Security benefits for retired people, survivors, and disability benefits.
So there are taxes tied to income taxes tied to Social Security at the state level as well as the federal level. The taxes that are tied at the federal level, those go back to the Social Security Trust Fund. So they're
Okay,
not going into the national budget. And they make up a very small sliver of where Social Security revenue comes from. At the state level, Social Security income taxes here go into the state budget. There have been efforts over the years to eliminate the state Social Security income tax. AARP has worked diligently over the years to raise the income thresholds for exemptions so that fewer Minnesota retirees are paying taxes on those on their Social Security income. That tax still, is in place in Minnesota, but my understanding is that at this time, a large majority of people are not being taxed because it really is those higher income earners who are being taxed.
Sure. So let's move to another issue that AARP is advocating for, caregivers.
Yes.
Tell us about what's going on in that area, because I've heard someone say that you're either a caregiver or you're going to be a caregiver or you're going to be a receiver from a caregiver.
Yeah.
So tell us about it.
Absolutely true. Support for family caregivers is an issue that AARP has been working on for several years. So many people don't identify as a caregiver. They often don't even recognize when they're doing it. Mm-hmm. There's, I believe, about 63 million family caregivers in the country, including nearly 1 million in Minnesota. And caregiving looks different for everyone. It could be driving a loved one to medical appointments or helping with daily chores or grocery shopping, but it can also be more complex care like wound care, medication management. But the common thread for most family caregivers is there's a lot of red tape to navigate. There's a lot of things to juggle. Many of them are working full-time or part-time. Some of them have had to drop out of the workforce entirely. There's a financial strain that a lot of people aren't aware of. On average, family caregivers spend $7,200 a year out of their own pocket. So one of the things that AARP is really focused on is how we can alleviate some of that financial burden for family caregivers. So we've been advocating at the federal level for the Credit for Caring Act, which is a tax offset for family caregivers so they can get some money back in their pockets at tax time around those expenses.
What else can citizens do to get the message out to our legislators about the urgency of taking some action on these issues? Because they impact the lives and well-being of everyone.
Definitely. And this isn't just, federal, state, local government. We have those, elected officials at all levels. Get to know them. These people are your neighbors. They live in your community. They're there to represent you. Some are more accessible than others. Just simply, federal officials are in Washington, D.C. working, so they don't spend as much time here in the state. But we think of elected officials as people who we just can't email or call, and a lot of people will say, well, they're not going to read my email, they're not going to hear my call, but that's absolutely not true. They have staff who are relaying the information to all of them. You can find them at community events, and they are very open to hearing from constituents about the things that matter. And that relationship is so key in being able to make a difference. And there's, folks don't know where to start. Whether they're an AARP member or not, I'm happy to talk to them and get their foot in the door of how they can find out who their representative is and how they can reach out to them and be effective.
So AARP and you are together are a resource where people can go to say, what do I need to know about this issue? Give me the real story here so that I understand it. What kind of message I should carry to my representative or to my senator, whether I call them on the phone or send them a letter, text message, ever how it's going to work. Yeah. That resource is there. It's available for anyone, AARP members or not, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I hope our viewers are paying attention to the contact information that we have going on the screen. I know there was a discussion that I was a party to a few days ago where we were talking about voter engagement, and where some people said, well, I don't vote. I'm not going to go out to vote in the primaries or in the general election. My one vote doesn't count, doesn't matter. Can you put a different perspective on that viewpoint for us, Erin?
I can. There was an election in Minnesota recently that went to recount because there was a candidate who had won just by a sliver of votes. Your vote does matter. That doesn't happen in every election, but it can. And, if you don't think that, voting matters and you don't think your vote counts, I often think about just the commitment to being a good citizen and participating and raising your voice. And again, AARP, we don't tell anyone who to vote for. We just want to ensure that you vote and that you're informed when you go into the polls. But your vote absolutely does matter because there are races across the country where that election is won just by a handful of votes.
We see that in the news often.
Yes.
And so it does make a difference. One vote can make a
Yes.
difference. I would surmise that for the general populace to not vote is one of the very easy ways to lose a democracy or a representative form of government. So it is an obligation, it's a responsibility, and we need to take it seriously. We have about a minute and a half left, Erin, in the program today. It's been a fascinating discussion. Thank you for all of the information you shared with us. Any final thoughts that our viewers or listeners on our podcast should know?
Yeah. I would just say if you care about protecting Social Security or supporting family caregivers, I encourage you to get involved. You can volunteer with AARP to help us educate voters and candidates. But even small actions, just like having a conversation with a neighbor or sharing information, can make a real difference because, at the end of the day, this is making sure that the promises people have earned, like Social Security, are kept and that voters have a strong voice in helping shape those decisions.
And that's an important message that you've just given us, an important ask for our viewers, our listeners, to be informed, be engaged, and we all need to be doing what we can to make our government fair and responsive to what our needs are as the citizens, right?
Yes, exactly.
Erin, thank you so much for being our guest on Access to Democracy today. And thank you, our viewers, for tuning us in, and for you, our listeners, on the podcast. There's more Access to Democracy on YouTube and accesstodemocracy.com. Go visit those websites and listen and hear the messages, the interesting stories from the guests we have on the program. Thank you again for being with us.
This program was recorded at Egan High School. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not reflect the views and opinions of ETV or those of District 196 schools.